Hello and welcome to another StarCraft 2 co-op video. I found some detailed information about JD trains and wanted to share with you all. This post was originally from a Chinese forum. I translated it using ChatGPT, and after checking it, it seemed to be fairly accurate. This information is what the user Imba Herbie has concluded from his research. I'm going to summarize it below. There are not many new discoveries regarding the practical execution of the JD train bug. This post is primarily a discussion of the underlying mechanics. First, a brief explanation of the JD mechanic. 1. The actual underlying mechanism of Just Die. The true implementation of Just Die works as follows. Whenever an enemy unit is initially placed on the map or newly created, it is given a fatal damage protection switch called Mutator Just Die AB. When Mutator Just Die AB is triggered, the unit receives the Mutator Just Die buff, which grants 1 second of invulnerability and fully restores the unit's health and status. After 1 second, both the buff and the trigger switch are removed. This is an inherent passive behavior built into every unit and does not rely on any additional triggers. 2. Resurrection for trains. For trains consisting of multiple linked cars, resurrection is handled by a separate trigger. When any train car triggers the resurrection switch, the trigger removes the switch from every connected car and applies the invulnerability or healing buff to the entire train. 3. Train health synchronization. To allow trains to properly take AoE damage across multiple cars, Blizzard did not use a shared health pool like the Nidus Worm. Instead, the game runs a function called synchronize conjoined train health every 1/16th of a game second. This function monitors the health changes of every train car and synchronizes them across the entire train. Internally, the function stores a variable called last seen health, which can be thought of as the trigger's record of the train's shared health pool. During each update cycle, the trigger 1 compares each car's current health against last seen health. 2. Calculates the difference for each car. 3. Adds all of those differences together into health delta. 4. Subtracts health delta from last seen health. 5. Sets the resulting value as the new health for every train car. As a result, if multiple train cars take damage during the same synchronization interval, all of that damage is accumulated together. For example, suppose last seen health is equal to 200. 3 train cars each lose 100 HP simultaneously. The total health delta becomes 300. The new last seen health immediately becomes minus 100. This leads to the first and well-known method of preventing train resurrection, the one I previously documented and verified on the wiki. Method 1. Reduce the train's shared health below 0 within a single 1/16th of a second update. If multiple train cars are damaged simultaneously within the same 1/16th second synchronization window, each individual car may survive the hit, but synchronized conjoined train health sums the health loss from every affected car. Once the accumulated damage exceeds the train's remaining shared health, last seen health becomes negative and is immediately assigned to every train car. Importantly, this death is not caused by any individual car receiving fatal damage through the normal damage system. Instead, the trigger directly kills the train by setting its health value to a negative number. Since Mutator Just Die AB only activates when a unit suffers normal fatal damage, deaths caused by the trigger assigning negative health completely bypass Mutator Just Die AB. This also explains why, in practice, when a train is nearly dead, using area of effect attacks that strike multiple train cars simultaneously is significantly more effective at preventing the train from resurrecting. Method 2. Last seen health overflows during the invulnerability period after resurrection has already triggered. Mutator Just Die AB, the fatal damage protection trigger, activates before a unit receives fatal damage. It then applies the Mutator Just Die buff, which grants 1 second of invulnerability while fully restoring the unit's HP and energy. For trains, the trigger CT Just Die Train Health, which handles train fatal damage protection and restoring the entire train's health, causes every connected train car to receive the Mutator Just Die buff as well. As a result, the entire train is fully healed and becomes invulnerable. The problem is that although every car has already been restored to full health, the synchronized conjoined train health function still stores the pre-resurrection value of last seen health, which is typically very low. During the invulnerability period, the health synchronization function skips only the final health clamping and write back step, but it continues calculating health delta and updating last seen health. According to the original trigger, let h equal the previous value of last seen health, n equal the number of train cars, s equal the sum of the current health of all train cars. Each synchronization performs health delta equals n times h minus s, then updates. New last seen health is equal to h minus health delta, which is h minus the sum of n times h minus s, which is s minus the sum of n minus 1 times h. This can also be viewed as new last seen health is equal to previous last seen health plus the total health of all train cars minus the sum of the number of train cars times previous last seen health. During invulnerability, every train car remains essentially at full health, so S is a large constant value. However, last seen health is multiplied by n-1 every synchronization before being fed back into the next calculation. As a result, the value rapidly oscillates between large positive and negative numbers. For example, suppose a train consists of 7 cars, each with 10,000 maximum health, and immediately before resurrection, last seen health equals 1,000. After resurrection, the total health becomes 7 times 10,000, which is 70,000. The synchronization proceeds as follows. First update, last seen health is equal to 70,000 minus 6 times 1,000, which is 64,000. Second update, last seen health is equal to 70,000 minus 6 times 64,000, which is negative 314,000. Third update, last seen health is equal to 70,000 minus 6 times minus 314,000, which is 1,954,000. After only a few updates, the value has grown far beyond the normal health range of a train. However, StarCraft 2 stores health values within an approximately fixed signed range. The minimum is minus 524,288 and the maximum is plus 524,287. In other words, values greater than plus 524,287 overflow, values less than minus 524,288 also overflow. This overflow does not clamp the value of the maximum or minimum. Instead, the value wraps around between the positive and negative ranges. For example, a value exceeding plus 524,287 wraps back into the negative range. A value below minus 524,288 wraps back into the positive range. Therefore, the value 1,954,000 would not actually remain as 1,954,000. Instead, it would wrap around multiple times within the finite integer range and eventually become some positive or negative value. A train car typically has around 10,000 HP and trains commonly consist of 7 or 13 cars. Since each synchronization multiplies the previous last seen health by number of cars minus 1, the value changes extremely rapidly. Usually, only 1 or 2 updates are enough to exceed plus 524,287 or fall below minus 524,288. Synchronized conjoined train health runs once every 0.0625 game seconds, which is 1/16th of a second, while Mutator Just Die grants 1 second of invulnerability. This means approximately 16 synchronization updates occur during the invulnerability period. Throughout those 16 updates, last seen health repeatedly follows this pattern. Positive value grows larger, exceeds plus 524,287, overflows into the negative range, continues changing, drops below minus 524,288, overflows back into the positive range. As a result, the value continually overflows and wraps between positive and negative numbers. Once invulnerability expires, the health synchronization function resumes performing its final health clamping and write back step. At that point, everything depends on which side of 0 last seen health ultimately lands on. If the final value is positive, the code executes min last seen health max health. In other words, it takes the smaller of last seen health and the train's maximum health. If the positive value exceeds the maximum health, it is clamped back to the maximum health and written to every train car, allowing the train to resurrect normally. If the final value is negative, min negative value max health still returns the negative value, since any negative number is smaller than the maximum health. That negative health is then written to every train car, immediately killing the entire train and effectively preventing resurrection. Therefore, this behavior may appear random, but it is not actually random. Once the following are fixed, which are the number of train cars, the train's maximum health, the value of last seen health immediately before resurrection, and the number of synchronization updates that occur during invulnerability, the final outcome is completely deterministic. However, because the value repeatedly overflows within the range -524288 to +524287, changing the train's health by even 1 HP before resurrection can cause the final synchronization update to land on opposite sides of 0, producing completely different outcomes. In short, during invulnerability, the train cars have already been fully healed, but last seen health still retains its pre-resurrection value. The health synchronization function continues recalculating it using the total health of all train cars and the previous recorded value, causing it to rapidly exceed +524287 or fall below -524288, repeatedly overflowing between positive and negative values. When invulnerability ends, if the final value is positive, the train resurrects normally. If the final value is negative, that negative health is written back to every train car, causing the entire train to die and prevent resurrection. Unlike the first method, this behavior depends only on the train wave and the train's health immediately before the fatal hit. It is completely independent of the damage dealt by the final attack itself. Its damage amount and whether it is AoE or single target do not matter. Very technical information. I don't really know how to use this information, but maybe you learned something from it. And that's it for this video. See you next time.